Hello Champagne Dreamers and welcome to my channel. I'm your girl Miss Jaye and I just wanted to do a little introductory video to tell you a little bit more about who I am, where I come from, and what I'm doing here. So if that is interesting to you, if you want to learn a little bit more about this crazy garbage person before you, stick around, it's happening right now. Welcome to my channel. Now, who the hell am I, right? My name is Janessa J. Champagne, and I am a drag performer, a show director, and a hot mess express from Grand Forks, North Dakota. I have been performing in drag shows since 2001. I know, which somehow, despite that, I'm still just a fresh-faced girl of 22. How does that happen? Dark magic. Actually, I am proudly 42 years old, and I am excited to be here. I've been talking about YouTube for a while now. Technology is always kind of my struggle, but I've been wanting to do this and wanting to figure it out. And, you know, the world is on fire, and it's a perfect time to learn new things and finally follow through on some projects. And I decided now is the time. Let's do it. And so I've been recording, and I've actually released a few other videos. I had intended for this to be the first video on my channel, but if you happen to have caught one of my other videos, those were filmed a few months ago, and they were kind of a test thing where we were doing some footage just to test out the camera, and I wanted to test out the editing, and I was going to kind of release them later, but I just was so excited about them, I decided to go ahead and put them out as soon as I edited them. Because I really am excited. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I've been talking about it for a long time, and so this was the opportunity. This was the perfect time to do it. So a little bit more about me. I am 42 years old, as I said. I was born in 1978. I am barely living proof that queer people don't just disappear off the planet after they turn 27. I am a Capricorn, and so I'm salty and stubborn as fuck. I am queer and give no fucks about it. Like, I have been out and proud for a long time. I actually came out right around the same time that Ellen did on her sitcom, and I just enjoy being an out queer performer and content creator, and that's just part of my personality and part of what I bring to all of the content and all of the work that I do. So in terms of how I define my sexuality and my gender identity, I actually describe both as queer. I like queer as a word because it's really slippery. It doesn't have a really easy, obvious definition. I think that sometimes people see drag queens, and I am absolutely a drag queen. All of this comes off, and this is not how I present myself in day-to-day living, but people see drag queens and they always just assume that you are cisgender, and that's not necessarily the case. I have kind of a long, complicated history with gender, with how I think about my sexuality, and so I just define both as queer. In terms of my pronouns, it really depends on the situation. It's very contextual. So when I am presenting in drag, I prefer female pronouns or they, them pronouns. That's fine as well. So she, her, hers, they, theirs. Those are perfectly fine. If I am at work in a professional setting, I prefer he, him, his, or they, them pronouns, because I do present in a more traditionally, I wouldn't necessarily say masculine, because I don't think that my presentation is super masculine. In fact, sometimes, especially if I'm really like trying to be fancy, I would describe my personal style as like 55-year-old lesbian librarian who just got back from a week-long spiritual retreat in Sedona. Like, it's not super butch, is what I'm saying, but definitely more along the lines of people generally read me as being cisgender male, so when I'm in a work context, he, him, his, or they, them. I'm never sure if you're supposed to say the two or the three. Kids today, I promise I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. If I say two or say three, that's just who I am. Because actually that's part of it, and that's the next part. If we're outside of either of those two contexts, if we're outside of either me being in a drag performance context or being in a work performance, if it's just in my everyday life, I honestly don't have a preference. And I know that some people don't like that phrasing of preferred pronouns, and I absolutely understand and respect that for some people it's not about pronoun preference. Those are their pronouns. These are their pronouns. This is their identity. That is who they are, and people should respect that. And I absolutely respect that for people. But I also ask that they respect my journey. And my journey is just that I don't have a preference. Because I run into people all the time that know me from different contexts and different ways of presenting myself. Male pronouns, female pronouns, plural pronouns. I don't have a preference in my everyday life. So I will absolutely respect somebody else's pronouns, and I just ask that people respect that as well. And if you have a concern, if you interact with me outside of those two main contexts and you're wondering what it is, ask me about it. I'm completely open to that. And I always think that they, them is a good fallback if you're not sure of somebody's preference. My experience of gender and sexuality is just much more layered and fluid, where I don't necessarily feel like I have to conform to one set of pronouns, or that I have to sort of have that be a part of the identity that I put forth into the world. And I absolutely respect that for some people that is absolutely important. It's necessary. Neither of us is right. Neither of us is wrong. Neither of us is more valid than the other. It's just different experiences. It's different journeys. So that's where I'm at with my gender and my sexuality and my pronouns. Except please just don't ever come at me with the pronoun it. Unless somebody has specifically told you that that is a preference of theirs for whatever reason, that is never a go-to. Ever. That's going to get you punched in the genitals. Alright, so now that I've told you a little bit more about just me as a person, what are we going to talk about on this channel? Now, if you've watched any of the 3 videos that I've already uploaded, you know that I love makeup. I am a big fan of makeup. As a YouTube watcher, I am absolutely deeply entrenched in the beauty space. That's the majority of the content that I watch on YouTube. I absolutely love makeup and playing with it, the artistry, the fun, the adventure. So that's going to be a big part of my channel. But even before YouTube, I've been a content creator for a while. I have a website. It's the World of Champagne at janessajaye.com. And it's spelled exactly the way that my name, Janessa Jaye, is spelled on my YouTube channel. So it's just janessajaye.com. And the things that I write about and create content about are all focused on 3 major pillars: Glam, Geek, and Gore. All right, no surprise. I think you know that the Glam pillar, that's where the makeup is. It's all about makeup and drag performance and all of that kind of stuff. But in addition to that, it's also about other things like just pop culture and the way that we idolize celebrities and, the excesses of our material culture. That's the kind of stuff that I'm interested in. I'm interested in, where things get weird and queer and just too much. So I love drag as an art. I love porn stars. I love anything that's just kind of on the edges and just has that gritty. I am a huge Kesha fan. I'm a huge John Waters fan. I love Divine. Divine is one of my biggest drag influences. I absolutely love where glamour and filth kind of come together, and the juxtaposition and what those things do in relationship to each other. So those are all things that I'm going to be talking about under the Glam category. Now for the Geek category, obviously I love comic books. I love Wonder Woman. I love the X-Men. I was always more of a Marvel fan than a DC fan, although I do love Wonder Woman. And as a kid, when the Super Friends cartoon was on, I was obsessed with the cheetah. Absolutely. I cannot wait for Wonder Woman 1984 and finally see Cheetah on screen. Deceased. I love it. In addition, the geek side of me, I was always interested in English classes in school. And when I went to college, I pursued undergrad that was very heavily focused on English, although at that time I was a little bit more into drama and performance and creative writing and a lot of the literary part of it. And then when I got to grad school, I discovered theory. And I flourished. I absolutely loved it. Queer theory and feminist theory and gender studies. I absolutely loved it. And so English majors, if you've never met one before, we are those people that if you're not an English major, if you're not of that mindset, the way you often probably view us is we are the people who love to pick things apart until you can't possibly enjoy it anymore. People who don't like doing that, don't like digging in and breaking things apart and examining it, they think like, how can you even enjoy it? And for me, that's what I enjoy. I enjoy picking things apart and looking at the structure and looking at like, what does it mean? And I think that taking something apart and criticizing it and critiquing it doesn't mean that you can't enjoy it. I absolutely love things that are probably objectively trash. There are things that I absolutely love. Destiny's Child is a huge guilty pleasure. Are they like canonical music that'll last through all the ages? Of course not. But you know what? I don't think you're ready for this jelly. And I will dance my chunky booty to that song every time it comes on until I'm dead. I love, love, love Destiny's Child, and I love Kesha and just like trashy pop music. And I love, you know, kind of just like beach reads. Like I love serial killer books, but I also like meteor things. And I like taking the sort of meteor theory stuff and applying it to the pop culture stuff, because I think a lot of it is a lot deeper and more interesting and more nuanced than people give it credit for. So absolutely there's going to be some sort of cultural commentaries where we talk about movies. I'm a big horror fan. There's absolutely going to be horror content on here. So if you love horror as well as the makeup and all the pretty things, if we're going to have glitter, we also got to spill a little blood. So we're going to have some commentary on that. Probably some commentary on sexuality and gender and how they relate to different things within our culture. And I just love breaking it apart and looking at it and talking about it. And that's going to be what we do under the geek pillar. And the third pillar is gore. Like I said, I love horror movies. I think horror movies are really fascinating when we start talking about what we fear and what we're scared of. I think there's a lot there, and I think there are horror movies at all levels of quality, although that's really subjective. I think there are things that you can do that are all different levels of quality that have really interesting things. So some of my favorites, I love 80s slashers. That's what I grew up on. My favorite horror movie in the world is Sleepaway Camp. And I know that that gets dismissed often as either just a ripoff of Friday the 13th, or a lot of people dismiss it as being transphobic. And I think that there's a lot more to it than just saying that it's just a clone or that it's transphobic. I think that the arguments about transphobia could be much more deep and complex than they are. I'm not saying that there's not things that people couldn't make a case for it being transphobic, but I think that there's a lot more to it, and I think that it's great to talk about it. I think that just because you talk about something and you analyze something and you don't necessarily agree with another perspective doesn't mean you're taking away anyone else's right to feel the way that they feel about that cultural product. So if people are offended or angry or don't like Sleepaway Camp, they don't have to. They absolutely can feel like that. There's nothing wrong with feeling like that. But I don't think that that should stop the conversation. I think that unless things are just like blatantly on the surface attacking other people, I think there's room in there to have conversations and have discussions. And I think that the horror genre is actually a great place to do that. I think that the horror genre has a lot of things to say about sex and gender and sexuality, about race. Thank God for Jordan Peele. I cannot wait for every single thing that he releases for the rest of his life, because Get Out and Us, to me, are both just brilliant. Commentaries on race and class in America, and fantastic. So I love talking about horror. There's definitely going to be horror content because I gotta get my fill of gore. So how is that going to translate into the types of videos that you'll see on my channel? Absolutely, when it comes to makeup content, I know everybody loves to talk about, oh, I miss old YouTube, I miss old YouTube. And when I say that, I mean very specific things. When I say that I miss old YouTube, I'm talking about when people used to do lots of tag videos. I love a good tag video. You probably, again, if you've already seen the videos that I've uploaded so far, my first video ever on this channel was a tag video. It was the Unpopular Makeup Opinions tag. And I actually filmed that way back in January, and I love that now, right around the time that I'm re-uploading it, there's been a resurgence of that tag in particular, and just of tags in general. I love tag videos. I'm here for it. I watch them and I want to make them. I also love fun challenge videos like Full Face One Brand, the Black-owned makeup brand challenge. So this face that you see right here, which a walkthrough of this look, I don't have a video recording of it, but a walkthrough of this is on my website, janessajay.com, under the lifestyle section, and it's a Face Friday post. So my Face Friday posts are where I sort of do a photo step-by-step walkthrough of a look that I created. And this look right here is both a Full Face One Brand. There's a couple places where I cheated, and you'll see that in the post, but it's a Full Face One Brand, and it's a Black-owned makeup brand challenge because I used Juvia's Place. So pretty much everything on my face creating this Pride look is from Juvia's Place. And so I love those kind of videos. And even the weird ones, like when people were using silicone pads, like the chicken cutlet boob pads to do their face, and when they did a full face of highlighter or all shimmer and all that kind of stuff, I live for that. So you're definitely going to see some of that. You're definitely going to see probably some product reviews. Most of my product reviews I do on my website, but from time to time I may come on and give you some first impressions reviews. When I'm reviewing them for my site, I like to do swatches and play around with them a little bit, but you will probably see some more first impressions kind of reviews on my channel, and you'll have some discussion. And I think there will be some discussion about the beauty space in general and how the beauty space represents itself and represents different communities, and I think that that's an important kind of conversation to have. I also eventually want to kind of expand out into doing some of those other videos. I have all kinds of thoughts and opinions on movies and pop culture. It's what I studied, it's what I love, it's my happy place. I love to go in and just rip things apart and talk about them. I absolutely am influenced by queer theory. I am a Foucauldian till the end of time. Michel Foucault, I can't say French things worth a damn, but Foucault is absolutely one of those people, and Judith Butler is the other that I really love. But what I love about Foucault is he talks about power in very interesting and specific ways. And he says, look for where the power is. Don't look at where we say power is, look at where power is actually being exercised. And I think that when we do things like that, we can start to re-look at things that we thought we had made our mind up about and see that sometimes they function in very different ways. And so I think that's very interesting. I also have a couple of makeup series that are planned for the channel. The first one, GRWM, you're probably familiar with those. My version of it is Get Ratchet With Me. Now, why am I calling it Get Ratchet With Me? And for me, it's because I am not a makeup artist. I am a drag performer, but I am completely self-taught. A lot of it watching YouTube videos, Queen of Blending, shout out to her, way back in the day. I love that she's kind of found a second life on Instagram. I adore her. But just learning and watching YouTube. And my approach to makeup is that I always want to play. I don't necessarily want to have one face that I know how to do perfectly. That to me would be so boring. If I developed that sort of style, I would probably stop painting my face. I would probably stop doing it. Because for me, it's about the journey. It's about the experiment. And so I don't care if I look ratchet. And that's, I think, is wonderful in this world of trolls that we live in. You know what? Come on and tell me I look busted. I'm telling you I look busted before I even came on. This look right here is a hot garbage fire. Like, this was supposed to be something completely different. But it just, as I was going through and playing, I would try a little bit, or I would like, well, let's do something a little bit different here. And it got bigger and crazier. This glitter on my face is bananas. But you know what? That's the fun of it. That's the experimentation. Would I do this sort of look every time? No, of course not. But it was fun, and I like that. So I don't care if I look ratchet. I don't care if I look busted, because I had fun, and it was artistic and creative, and it was fulfilling. And I want to bring that to other people, and I want... because I really had to give myself permission to be like that. I think that, and especially now, there's so much about drag culture that's based on competition. And so if it's competition, then you have to win, you have to be the best. Well, if you're trying to win and be the best, that's based on somebody else's standard. Whoever is putting on the competition, it's their standard. I don't want to win by somebody else's standard. I want to be whatever I'm going to be. And I don't even know when I start what that's going to be. I might have an idea, but I want to just go in and just push things and see where they go and color and have a good time. So So come along and get ratchet with me. The other series that I want to do is a little bit more fun. It's a little bit cheeky, and it's called Don't Drink and Drag. And so what I want to do, again, in that vein of just playing and having fun, is I occasionally like to have an adult beverage. And so I thought it could be fun to get together with my bestie Angie, who is my unpaid, put-upon cinematographer behind the camera. You'll hear her from time to time throughout the videos, and she'll show up a lot in the blooper reel. I like to get together with her and have cocktails from time to time, so why not get together, have a few drinks, and try to recreate a makeup look, or try a specific sort of makeup challenge, or try to recreate a look that I did while I was sober for a Face Friday. So we're going to have some of those. It's just kind of a fun, playful way to relax. Again, the world is on fire right now, so anything that we can do to relax and have a good time responsibly, we're not getting too crazy. So, we're going to do it in a responsible way, but we're still we're gonna have a good time. So Angie gets to be drunk daycare, but maybe she will be a little salty too. We'll see. So that's kind of the initial run of videos, and then as I said, as we develop and as I continue to branch out into other things, I would love to do more commentary and movie review style things. I am super into indie films. For the last few years, I've been going to a convention called Days of the Dead, and I've met a lot of indie filmmakers, and I've watched a lot of indie films, and so I love to talk about the projects that they have, because yes, they are not big Hollywood blockbusters. The effects are not the same. Sometimes the acting is not the same. Sometimes the lighting is not the same. Sometimes the sound is not the same. But nobody is more passionate about making films and creating things than an independent filmmaker. They absolutely put love and time and attention into their art, and I want to talk about it and celebrate it. For the last couple of years, I've been hosting a late night movie night called Miss Jaye's Friday Night Frights, and we've been showing a lot of these independent features because a lot of the big Hollywood motion pictures are owned by these licensing companies that, you want to show a slasher film from 40 years ago, and they want to charge you $500. And it's like, there are people who are making films right now that, if you buy a few copies of their movie, or if you pay them a little bit of money, they're willing to say, hey, show it. I'll Facebook Live in if you can hook it up, or if I'm close enough, I'll come to the screening. Like, I would love to promote this and talk about it. They love their art and they love the products that they create, and that's what I want to celebrate. Are creative people who just love what they do and want to share it with the world. So what else do I do? What other kind of things do I get up to, and how else can we get to know each other a little bit better? So let me tell you about some of the other things that I do in the wild world of the interwebs. So first of all, I have a couple of podcasts. Now, I should say I am not by any means really adept at podcasting either. It's one of those things that I loved the format and I loved the idea of it, but I've never held myself to a schedule. So I just post when I want to, I record when I want to. If I have something that I'm thinking about that I really just want to get out there, then I'll go ahead and post about it. The first show is called Janessa After Dark, and I'm currently finishing up my second season and getting ready to launch season 3. Spoiler alert, season means nothing. I basically have decided that when I get 10 episodes, that's a season. So season 2 has taken me about 2 years to finish. Season 1 took about a year, and I'd originally thought that maybe I would do a season per year and then do about 10 episodes just kind of randomly, but however long it takes, I don't care. But 10 episodes was how the first season turned out, and I think it's a good number, so we're going to probably stick with that. So that is a pop culture interview style show. So basically, the main episodes, I have a guest on, and I interview them and talk to them for anywhere from 20 minutes to 30 minutes to 40 minutes if we're really chatty. And I usually have some sort of commentary at the beginning of the episode that relates to something that the guest and I talk about. I've had some pretty fantastic guests on the podcast, including adult film star and boylesque dancer Chris Harder, indie filmmakers Tommy Faircloth, Heidi Moore, and Brooklyn Ewing, t-shirt artist Erica Kaufman, actor and rat tail musician Jerry LaRue, and iconic scream queen from Sleepaway Camp, as well as new indie horror greats like A Nun's Curse and Family Possessions, Felissa Rose. Now, my second podcast is That's my heart. That's my passion project. And that is something that really started as a different kind of project and then evolved. So my initial thought is I've always been a little bit wary of the self-help genre. I've always thought it was a little bit of like quick answers, a little bit cheesy, a little bit schmaltzy. And so I thought, wouldn't it be funny if a sassy drag queen got together a bunch of self-help books and was like, I'm going to fast track some positive change in my life. I'm going to read these self-help books, make fun of them, and we'll see if we get anything out of it. And so I assembled 14 books that I call The Squad. And they're books that either I picked out myself or were recommended to me by friends, or my mom sent me a couple. And I decided that they were going to be my guide. And I wanted it to be a limited series. So the entire series eventually is going to be 17 episodes. And there's an introductory episode, a midpoint episode, and then an ending episode where we wrap everything up. But in between, there's going to be 2 chunks of 7 episodes each where we just read a book and talk about it and discuss it. And as I was getting into that first chunk, so far, as of the recording of this, we're about 8 episodes in. So I finished the first group of 7 books, and I'm getting ready to record the midpoint episode. And those first 7 books were so surprising to me, because I realized that I actually have some things in terms of mental health that I need to work on and that I need to do. There were some surprisingly emotional moments. There were times where I got really angry. There were times where I got really sad. There were times where I got really happy and had these like joyful sort of epiphanies. As I was going through those initial early books, I realized this is going to be a bigger project than I really anticipated. So I'm actually really proud of that series, and I hope that you will consider giving it a listen. That's called Miss Jaye, The Renovation. And of course, probably my biggest content creation project has been the World of Champagne at janessajay.com. That is my website. I have been running it for about, math is hard, 8 years. 8 years already. I started it in 2012. It was the summer after I got divorced. That's a story for another day. But I was in a relationship for 7 years, and during that time, I just was becoming more and more unhappy. Not necessarily because of him or anything that he was doing. It was just something that was a combination of a bunch of different factors. And I realized that I was giving up my sparkle. I was giving up my joy. And so when that relationship fell apart, I really had a turning point. And I had to decide to either just like pack it in and be done with the world, or I had to turn a corner and I had to figure out how to get my sparkle back. And for whatever reason, I chose to get my sparkle back, and it has been an amazing journey. And so I started the World of Champagne with the help of my webmistress friend, Natalie. She has been a great help in getting me all set up and launching the first version of my website. So that was kind of the World of Champagne version 1.0. And I ran that for a few years, and then about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, my website crashed. There was a problem with the server, and the website was actually offline long enough that all of my content was lost. And so luckily, we know that the internet is forever. Just ask like James Charles and Jeffree Star. But so I was able to go through the Wayback Machine and get a lot of my content, and especially the content that really mattered. So a lot of my blog articles, a lot of my kind of thought pieces, I was able to get back. But in the last like 2 years, I've been operating on the World of Champagne 2.0. So I don't have all of my previous content, especially, unfortunately, I lost a lot of my makeup content, but I've gone back and I've started rebuilding and creating archives of previous posts, and it's just been a wonderful, wonderful experience. So I have a blog section where I post, again, not on any kind of schedule, but if I have any sort of thing that I'm wrestling with or thing that I just want to write about, I will create a blog article about it. And I call them blog articles because it's not a blog in the traditional sense. The section is called blog, but it's not just like, today I felt like this, where it's sort of like a diary on the internet. It's definitely more of almost like an article, almost like a piece of journalism mixed with kind of personal perspectives, and which is probably just a really pretentious way of saying blog, but they're a lot of fun and I enjoy them. I don't write them as often as I used to, and I would like to get back into it, but I have some blog articles on there. I do makeup reviews. I do the Face Friday posts. If you want to know how I did this face, you can check out the Face Friday posts of my full face of black-owned makeup brand Juvia's Place in the lifestyle section. And I also have things where I post about the other things that I'm doing through my production company, Champagne Dreams Productions. So the drag shows that I participate in, including ones where I am the director or ones where I'm a guest performer. All of the things to do with my podcast, and now things about my YouTube channel. All right, so that is a little bit more about me. I am not always good at keeping myself to a schedule, but I really do have a goal of trying to stick with it for YouTube. I really do feel like I want to keep on a schedule, and I know everybody says that, and then they're gone for a while and they come back and they apologize and say how they're going to do better. So I don't know what I'm going to do. All of these things are my passion projects. I work a full 9 to 5, and so I'm going to do what I can. In my off hours, I love to work on content creation, but I also like to go where the inspiration carries me. But my goal right now is to do one video a week. And so part of what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one filming day where I'll do footage for several videos. So if you do see the same look for a few videos in a row, don't be surprised. I may try to change it up a little bit, change out a wig, maybe change shirts, add a gloss, add a little extra color, do something to kind of differentiate it. But just know that you'll see the same look sometimes from time to time throughout a video, unless I'm doing like one of those don't drink and drag. Because obviously if I'm doing drunk drag makeup, we don't want to see that for more than one video. That's probably going to be a disaster. But so you just know that you may see that from time to time. But I just am excited. I'm excited to dive into it, and I really have been enjoying the smaller beauty space creators on YouTube right now, and I'm just excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to be a part of the conversations that are happening right now, and so I'm super excited. If you've gotten this far in the video, because I'm sure it's going to be a long one, I'm just excited that you're here, and thanks for tagging along with me. So I really do hope you enjoyed this intro video. If you did, please make sure that you like it on your way out. Give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And we all know about the YouTube algorithm. It helps with that. If you would like to be on these new adventures that I just told you all about, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and also make sure you hit the bell icon so you can get notifications of all future uploads. If you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate between uploads, you can always catch me on my socials. They will all be listed in the description box above, as well as a link to my website, The World of Champagne, at janessaj.com. Thanks very much for watching, and until I see you again, bye.
Aren't the description boxes usually below?
But welcome to my channel. I'm your girl, Miss Jaye, and I just wanted to do a video to introduce myself and get to know you a little bit more. How is that going to happen? Help get to know you a little bit and tell you a little bit more about me so that we can become friends and lovers and just have a wonderful time here on the YouTubes. I'm excited. Are you excited? It's happening. The light's wobbling.
Oh.
So I was like, I'm gonna wait for it to settle down. So I'm not doing the yeah. I'm ready. Since 2001, and what? Okay. But I also act that. What you doing?
I was like, what happened to the cake? And you put it. Did I put it in the fridge or did you?
I put it in the fridge.
Because I was like, I want some cake, and I'm like, what happened to this cake? Okay. Cake is always on my mind.
Yeah.
In the genitals?
In the genitals. Just me as a person. What are we going to talk about on this channel?
Makeup.
Makeup!
Lots and lots of makeup.
All the makeup.
This makeup, that makeup. Mirrors.
Mirrors. I'm going to have a whole series on mirrors.
That is a joke series. Then you talk about the coloration and compare it. Okay.
I always start to look down right away, and I'm like, I don't want that up and down, so So if you're wondering why I'm saying things over again. I also have a couple of makeup series planned for the channel. That was just weird cadence. I also have a couple of makeup series planned for the... why am I stressing? Planned for the channel? Planned? Pretty. So pretty.
So pretty.
Have a good time. So, come along. Come on.
Yeah, come along.
Come along.
Come along here.
Our creative... Hello. And so then we just have to... Oh. That was a misfire. Just go blank. I don't like any of that. So let me cut it down a little bit. T-shirt artist Erica... The fuck is her name? And that was really the goal. And so I assembled 12... That's not the right number. Thanks for... God. I'm getting tired. Oh, pretty girl.
Cut. That's your intro.
That's right.